welcoming all our viewers to this platform, International Affairs, proudly broadcasting from the SATV's Gulshan studio. My name is Shamsul Rampanto as I bring you the updated facts and figures from all around the world. Before I begin on our discussion, let me introduce our panel. In the studio, we have retired Major Nasiruddin Ahmed, who is of course a military veteran, and I welcome him once again onto this program. Alongside, we will have our geopolitical correspondent, Norman Floyd Barnes from District of Columbia, Washington. A very good morning to Norman. I want to begin the discussion with Norman. Yesterday, we had covered the news that U.S. President Donald Trump is seeking aid from NATO allies to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Almost all of these allies, including Great Britain as well as Germany, has said that we cannot find themselves into the war of U.S. and Israel on Iran. And that is the stance of NATO. And of course, Donald Trump had said that the future would be bad for NATO if they cannot help aid out on this process. Earlier today, Donald Trump has mentioned that this war with Iran is in the conclusion phase. I want to know more from Norman Floyd Barnes. What are the updates that you have for us? Norman.
Greetings and good morning from Washington, D.C., where we prepared another day coming up regarding the war in Iran. Our president has reached out to several of his allies for assistance in terms of forming a coalition to escort oil through the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz. The response as of today, zero. No one has responded. They have delayed, said, hey, we'll get back with you. We're not saying no, but we're not saying yes either. So the president is very obviously upset about that his allies, so-called allies, are not rallying to his arm, his aid. But you have to look at the situation. Most of the people, most of the allies has been stated being bullied, talked bad to, harassed, threatened, and sanctioned and tariffs put on them for participating or not participating in the manner which the president seemed necessary. So right now the situation is the United States and its Middle East partner Israel will have to go at this battle by themselves. To much avail, this is having a effect on how things are functioning in the economic world, and the people here in the United States, the prices, the services, the airports, and everything else is being suffering from this. And we don't see an end. We don't see a beginning. We don't understand the beginning, and we definitely don't see an end to this. So right now, this confrontation appears to have no end. The president is not willing to talk about a ceasefire or anything of this with the Iranian officials. And the Iranian officials, the Iranians whose military is severely depleted and naval force basically destroyed, is still shooting missiles. The question is where these missiles coming from, who's shooting them, and why. One commentary basically said that we started out the first couple of days shooting over 3,000 missiles, and we're down to 2,500 missiles being shot so far today. The UAE and the Gulf states are still struggling with these attacks. Israel is still doing what it's doing in Lebanon, destroying, killing people in a barbaric way. And we are still shooting down drones and what we call missiles, but these missiles and drones are still getting through. So there's no, right now, conclusion to this. There's no solution that's been brought to the table by the Trump administration on how to address this. And this ability up there is Iran is still responding. They're still attacking. and they still hold the control of the Strait of Hormuz. And right now, the world is basically looking at this situation as basically, hey, as long as Iran controls the strait and controls the oil flow, they're having a more devastating effect than all of the bombs um, released by the United States and the destruction and the killing on Iran. So right now, the appearance is that this war is at a stalemate situation, and Iran is basically, as long as they keep holding out, as long as they keep sending missiles, as long as they keep controlling the flow in the strait, they have the advantage as I see it.
Of course, a very important updates coming from Norman Floyd Barnes. I have to regard this one as very important. U.S. President Donald Trump says he is close to concluding this war. However, the Foreign Minister for Iran, Abbas Araghchi, says he has no contact with any kind with the U.S. side and has no contact whatsoever. And there is an update that I want to bring out for our viewers as well. A statement by the Lebanon's Disaster Risk Management Unit at the Prime Minister's office said almost 1 million people have been displaced by the assaults since March the 2nd. And I want to come back into the studio with Dr. Nasir. This statistic that I provided, almost 1 million people have been displaced due to the ground offensive from Israel into southern Lebanon. That is just only one of the aspects that I want to discuss. Alongside, for many weeks and months earlier, we have been theorizing that any kind of blockade over the Strait of Hormuz would cause global disruptions. I want to know how you're feeling about it now that that kind of scenario is taking place in reality.
Well, thank you, Vantho, and warm greetings to my dear viewers. This is the 18th day of the war,
Right.
and that started with the first casualty of the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. But first casualty of the war is always the truth. It has been said by Senator John of USA during First World War, that is 100 years, more than 100 years from now. So exactly what is happening in Israel or Lebanon, you have said, and or if you talk about the Iran or the Middle East as a whole, that is still a big question, because everywhere censorship has been imposed. Particularly in Lebanon, it was very unexpected, because it's a war between Iran and also against the Israel in particular, and in general with Israel and America.
Right.
But how the Lebanon needs to pay for this? It is only because of the proxy war that has come up in the form of Third World War in this particular era.
Right.
There had been a lot of soldiers, those who do not put on uniform, but they are backed up by Iran. It is widely known, and they were under attack from Israeli forces, ground force or air strike. It's not new. It was continuing for last few years, but nevertheless, since this guerrilla warfare or this proxy warfare is very difficult to eradicate, because they do not put on uniform, they do not follow any pattern, they do not put on any, they do not stay in a particular garrison. So it's very difficult to detect them and to hit them or to capture them as a whole. In that case, you will have to impose martial law in the whole country and control them. But they could not do it, and it's not feasible. That's why they have gone for the massive air strike, and also from the ground they have pounding the drones and cannons, everything. And as a result, what is other casualty of the war is the innocent civilian. In Iran, by this time, the casualty has crossed more than 3,000, out of which more than 200 is children of the school. This is very shocking. And why they need to pay for it? This is the bad practice of the war. And same happened in Lebanon. I think that whatever figure has been broadcast, 1 million displaced, it's not exaggerated. It could be very much possible, because in a country like Lebanon, where the density of the population is quite heavy. If there is a real war situation, that could be a scenario which happened during 1971 in Bangladesh as well. More than 10 million had to be displaced from this small land because of the war. And if it is 1 million from Lebanon, it is not very unlikely. But what I am afraid is that this particular, previously from Iraq, people has been migrated, they were displaced. From Syria, they were displaced. From African countries as a whole, they are displaced from Afghanistan and many other countries like that. And if this continues, how Europe will ensure its own safety? These migrated people who do not have any land, have any bondage with the land, they are desperate. If you study the crime history of the USA or the Europe, you will find it is mostly the migrated people, because they need something to do for their livelihood. And once you are pushed against the wall, the so-called your policy, so-called your mental statement, that goes diverted. And that's why the crime occurs, and at the same time it is a safety issue. And they are the mainly harvested by forces like Iran. They are, you know that there had been a lot of incidents in the tunnels of UK, USA, and there had been shooting in many other European countries by a group of Muslim peoples. And very recently there was an occurrence in Sydney of Australia. Who are doing this thing? They were displaced people mostly. The historical track goes. So this displacement of the general civilian due to the war, that is not only a concern of a region, that is a concern for the whole world, and the international community has to take it very seriously. This is the first part of your question. Second part regarding the Hormuz Strait. Hormuz and few other straits in the world geography had always been the lucrative item for the warriors, and especially the arms sellers. Those are traders of the arms and explosives. This particular geopolitical issue, this is a geopolitical issue, is very narrow, I should say, in the world perspective. A strait with 33 kilometers at the minimum space. Only this particular strait has shaken up the whole world. Very recently, I was going through an article published in the Sky News that the casualty paid by the Iran because of the huge bombing of the USA and the Israel side, compared to that casualty of the other state because of only Hormuz Strait closure, blockade, is much more. What Iran is paying for the bombardment and other strikes on its reserve or well strength or its economic hub, the whole world is paying more than that because of the rise of oil price. It has already crossed $100 per barrel.
$105 to $106 per barrel as per
and if
data.
it continues like this, there will be heavy loss for the entire world community. In the entire, already you know, UAE, I was going through a video of the Dubai airport. It was very shocking. What a happening airport. You have visited many a time. And now it is just a vacant place. Nobody is going to the airport.
It has been the location of multiple strikes from the Iranian side. And not only so, today a very drastic news is coming out from the neighborhood of Iran. Iran shares its neighbors with Afghanistan and Pakistan. And I want to mention for our viewers that earlier today, Afghanistan is saying that 400 people have been killed in a Pakistan strike on a Kabul hospital. Of course, Islamabad is denying such claim. And of course, they're saying that there was no collateral damage. Large parts of the hospital have been destroyed. So it's important to figure out the fact that it's not only Iran who is having a confrontation between all the regional allies in the Middle East, but if you look towards West Asia, we see Pakistan and Afghanistan, two of the neighbors of Iran, they are not seeing eye to eye, as we have seen from the beginning of this war earlier on this month. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a break, but more on these topics afterwards.
Simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them,
testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen,
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks,
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
with President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them,
Testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen,
really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks,
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We can
Welcome back on International Affairs. Today, we are joined in the studio with Dr. Nasiruddin Ahmed as well as Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington, D.C. I want to begin once again with Norman. We were talking about Iran and how the Strait of Hormuz is actually the cause of concern for world leaders around the globe. And today, we see escalations in the region. Neighbors of Iran are fighting one another. The claim was that Pakistan had ordered an airstrike on a rehabilitation hospital in Kabul. Almost 400 people have been killed, while 250 have been injured. Although the reports coming from the field have been marred with some kind of confusion, as the exact numbers have not been ensured. But this indicates that that region is escalating into a full-blown war. And we know that we have had many updates and arguments regarding the hot mess created by the U.S. military and administration in towards the Middle East. I want to know how you're feeling. The neighbors are now escalating the attacks, as we have seen initially right before the strike on Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's residence. We've seen these two neighbors battling it out. How are you analyzing this event? Norman.
Thank you for the question. This regional conflict is now becoming a regional war and a global incident. This attack by the United States, supported by Israel, has caused confusion. It has caused disruption to the economic situation of the world. The military response has created an economic nightmare for the rest of the world. As the world is participating, not directly participating, but basically the results of this war has caused economic and inflation around the world. So when countries can't get their goods and services, trade and commerce is not made, you have these conflicts going on. The situation in Pakistan, Afghanistan, other parts of the world is going to continue to flare up because of the issues that trade and commerce have been diminished, depleted, or disrupted. So if you can't get your goods to the market or you can't get your resources that you need from other markets, people get frustrated. Countries get frustrated and they act out. And if you have a issue with your neighbor, now is a situation and the time where that is going to be enhanced. It's going to become more disruptive. So basically, this conflict is now causing global disruption, and you're going to see a lot more. I expect a lot more of these type of uh, skirmishes, attacks, or wars around the world because right now no one knows what the future is going to be. The dollar is being questioned. The price of oil is going up. The goal of Iran is to basically deal with a superior enemy, the United States. We're going to cause economic disaster for you. You and how you relate to other people, and your image is going to be severely damaged because basically you're stating one thing, but you can't do basically in this situation anything. You're basically
Right.
you can bomb me, you can kill me, you can destroy my property and disrupt my infrastructure, but you can't control the flow of the world. So basically, how this war is being fought by a superior military force versus a more mindful regime or a coalition stating that we can destroy you in an economic sense more so than you can destroy us in a physical military sense. So
Course.
that is where we're at right now. Is basically a battle of wills, who will last the longest. And Iran is basically saying we can put a lot of missiles, a lot of Scuds, a lot of drones, while you are spending millions of dollars, and we think we can outlast you. We think,
Right.
you will run out of money, you will run out of resources before we run out of ability to be there. So all we have to do in terms of Iran is be around, be there, and give the impression that we have control over certain regions, certain things, and send a missile here and there. Not a lot. You don't have to send 1,000 missiles a day. All you need is one to get through. And that is the issue. That one is causing the problem. That one incident in the Strait of Hormuz, that one missile that hits the hospital, that one missile that hit the mall, that one missile that hit the economic and hospitals and your airports, that is going to destroy the economic and the Western way of doing things. And their hope is basically that the Western way collapse based under this pressure and their their inability to adapt and be patient.
Of course.
Everything is in a rush. So let them rush themselves to the end.
Of course, I want to thank Norman Floyd Barnes for drawing the contrast between how the U.S. is using its might against Iran and how the Iranian infrastructure and military groupings are now fighting backwards in a different sort of tactic. But I want to focus on a different part of the world. I want to go to Cuba, and I want to ask the following question to Dr. Nasser. I know that the situation in Cuba has been very drastic. The nation is at a third major blackout in 4 months. So that's energy outage on the entire island. Not only that, they are having a fuel shortage and energy blockade. The economy is collapsing as per the indicators, and the U.S. is of course having sanctioning on various of these oils that goes into Cuba. Not only so, yesterday they had faced a 5.8 magnitude earthquake. All of this combined, Cuba seems to be in a very drastic situation. All of the residents that live there are in panic mode. What is your observation, given the fact that by the third month we have already stepped in to some sort of international warfare?
Yeah. So As a whole, the Caribbean region or the North America were under various crises because of certain sanctions being imposed by the US administration or the particular Donald Trump administration. And Cuba being a country which are dominated by the communist people and communist party, always had been a sore point for the USA. Right in a very close distance of the USA, which is the giant in the capitalism, or which wants to make the whole world a capitalist world, and in front of that particular country or in a close proximity, a country like Cuba, especially when it was under the great leader Fidel Castro, was a very much eye-soaring point for the US administration. You know, Fidel Castro was probably attempted 37 times by the US agents for assassination, and he faced successfully, he could counter 37 attempts of assassination in his lifetime. So that is the scenario in short about the past relation regarding US and the Cuba. And very recently, US administration and Donald Trump has threatened to take over the Cuba the way he had been threatening about the Greenland and few other countries.
As well, right.
And Venezuela already he has taken over. And this Venezuela was one of the key supplier of energy to Cuba. They have their own production which meets 30 to 40% of the requirement of the whole country. They have their deposits. Cuba as a country is having some deposits of oil and natural gas, both in its offshore and onshore areas. But that is not extracted extensively, or Cuba could not, because of the fund crisis, could not exploit its energy deposits, whatever they had. But whatever few fields they had extracted and they could collect it, that could meet the 30 to 40% of the total demand of the energy. And rest they used to collect it mainly from Venezuela, followed by Russia, Mexico, and few other informal spot market. But from January this year, because of the sanction imposed by the US and Donald Trump administration on Venezuela, they could not collect their energy.
And hence this crisis that they're facing as of today.
And more importantly, the statistic says that they could only collect 2 tankers, oil tankers, within last 3 months or so. So if a country like Cuba, having a population of 10 million plus, gets energy of 2 oil tankers in 3 months, definitely there is a crisis.
Of course.
And whatever you are saying, that there is a famous saying by few of the think tanks that electricity is the substitute of democracy. If there is no electricity, there will be no production. If there is no production, no earning. No earning means a chaos, confusion, revolt, and where democracy cannot function. So electricity and democracy has a close connection, which is being destroyed in Cuba.
Of course, I want to thank you, Dr. Nasser, for your valuable contribution and insight into this platform, International Affairs. Alongside, I want to give my heartfelt thanks to Norman Floyd Barnes, who had joined us from Washington, D.C. Finishing off on a top note here, March 17th is today and primarily celebrated worldwide as St. Patrick's Day, the traditional death date of Ireland's patron saint, marking a global celebration of Irish culture, heritage, and the color green. Not only so, this day 6 years ago marked the beginning of the nationwide blockades from around the world due to the novel coronavirus. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. I shall catch you all on tomorrow's International Affairs.